Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Boys, Season 1, Episode 6. It's called The Innocents. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. So, this episode kind of ramps up the coming conflict between Billy and Huey, and I'd sort of say that's the main through line, but obviously some other interesting stuff in there as well. And the random Tara Reid cameo for some bizarre reason. I don't know why.
Why not?
And Haley Joel Osment's in this as a proper character
Yeah.
as well for some reason, which I'm not complaining about. It was just I saw him and went, yeah, that looks like Haley Joel Osment. Like you can tell, even though I've not seen him since he was a kid, I can just look at him. That's Haley Joel Osment. If anything, when we see footage of him as a kid in this and his TV show, the fake TV show
Yeah.
where he was like a superhero, I'm like, that's not Haley Joel Osment. I know what Haley Joel Osment looked like at that age. He didn't look like that.
It's a fair point.
It's one of the problems with using actors who were kids as actors and then grow up, and then you have to do flashbacks and you hire someone. No,
And
I
you're
know.
like, but we all know what they look like.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well. So Huey is with Annie. He's in the bar, and they're kind of hitting it off, doing trivia. Run into one of Huey's old friends, who kind of just it's kind of just this dramatic beat where he kind of says, "Hey, Robin would want you to move on. She seems great." But obviously Huey's still kind of feeling his guilt from
Yeah.
everything. And we see that Annie's speech is playing on TV, and it's getting a lot of buzz, and people are talking about
And
what
she's
she
not
said.
really been seen since.
Yeah, she's been hiding
This
from
has
the
been 2 weeks, I think.
yeah she's been hiding from the filming crews because they're trying to do like a bunch of little documentary vignettes showing
Honestly, I think my biggest disappointment with this episode is that it's not just the mockumentary episode.
you wanted a whole hour of just all this mockumentary stuff.
I really did.
I could see it. Um, but she has her own couple of scenes. Annie's plot in this one's kind of weird actually. I especially noticed it when I was skimming through it again. Is that she has like a couple of big scenes towards the start and then disappears for like, the bulk of the episode, and then has a couple of big scenes at the end. It's a very interesting layout of her
Well,
stuff.
she's off the grid, so kind of works.
But so Huey, we'll stick with him just now and Billy because Huey, when they're with everyone, with the boys at the headquarters and they're going over everything they've learned, they come to this conclusion that okay, no, they're making soups with Compound V with the babies, which is certainly what we were thinking. I don't know if we can take this as a 100% confirmation yet. However, by the end of this episode, I'm convinced that Homelander's the only one who isn't, and that everything comes from him.
Yeah, probably.
Given that we'll be learning this, that he never really had parents, that his like family, his Kent farm is fake, that never happened, and we see like a flashback with him with this baby blanket as a kid. I'm like, no, he's from somewhere else. Maybe he's an alien, but everyone else is created from him.
I think that's very likely. I think the only way that you could still tell me is he was created is when they create and they realize the extent of the powers that he developed. Obviously we see they develop the powers very early on. Maybe they just went, nope, too dangerous. We're keeping this one. Sorry, parents.
Oh sure, yeah. Or maybe they toned it back after that. So, okay, maybe delete the compound a little bit. This one's a bit too.
Yeah, just give them the 1 or 2 powers, not all of them.
Yes. So Billy keeps dropping hints about Starlight. He keeps saying like, "Oh, the soups are all the same. They're all awful. They're all evil, including Starlight." And kind of like looks right at him.
Yeah, because when they're in the base here and they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna do this, this, and this," and he was just like, "So I guess I'll just keep working the Starlight angle, hey?" And they're immediately just onto him, and but just like, "Yeah, so we've been getting nothing from a phone for like a week. You wouldn't have something to do with that now, would you?"
Yeah, I may have taken that bug off of it. So Billy insists that Huey come with him, and they go to this group meeting, this self-help group, where they're in a circle, traditional style, and it's basically all people who are injured or have fallen victim to the collateral damage of superheroes. So
Yeah.
there's one woman there who was saved from dying, but it did snap her spine the way she was caught. So
I appreciate that this scene went in a totally different direction to what I expected.
sure,
Because you start this scene, you see take Huey in, and it's like, okay, he's going to try and make Huey speak at this group, right?
Yeah, I never actually thought that. Funnily enough, where I thought it was going to go was that the whole point was to sort of like let Huey see all the other victims of superheroes to like show him that they are all bad, that he can't. But of course, it
Mm,
doesn't even go in that direction. It goes in this place where Rufus from Timeless, who we've seen working at Vought, is here, and he's telling this story about, it was the Ace Princess, the superhero, because Billy's been kind of rude and kind of jumping in and like guessing things as he's telling the story, which
yeah,
typically you're not supposed to do at these types of meetings. Just FYI for anyone who's going to go and visit one.
little bit of meeting etiquette.
Yes, but he's talking about how he fell for this superhero with freezing powers, and when they were having sex at climax, she turned to ice, and he was still inside her, and it was the temperature was the same as liquid nitrogen, and it snapped off his dick, and Billy cracks a couple of funny jokes as to this. He says, like, "Oh, let's get back to the escapades," because the person running the group's like, "Hey, maybe you should share because you're very outspoken. You should share. Give him the talking stick because they've got a stick." And Rufus tries to give him a stick, and he gets very aggressive. He gets very,
Yes, he says, "Yeah, give me that stick and I'll shove it where your dick used to be."
he calls them all C bombs, and he's doing all that, and he's like, "You're all sitting around praising them and just being sorry about what happened to you as if it was an accident. Did it ever occur to you that they did this for a laugh? Where's your anger? Where's your rage? Where's your self-respect?" And I think what's really good about this is that he is coming off as a complete and utter dick, but at the same time you actually understand. And obviously we get a clearer context as the episode goes on as to, obviously we know his wife is missing. That is what we know so far. She's been
Yeah,
missing for years. We find out 8 years specifically later on, and later we do get some prime context where he takes Huey to the last known location, that place we saw in the video camera footage,
yeah.
and he just came out with it and says Homelander raped her. And I think it's interesting that that's coming from him and that he knows this about Homelander, because one of the first things that, back in episode 1 when they were talking about the various superheroes, it was him out loud that says, no one's got anything on Homelander, he's squeaky clean, which does not mean that he doesn't believe that he's evil or that he knows that he's evil, because he clearly does. It just means that there's no proof of it, there's no way
Yeah.
to track it. So I think coming from him's a big deal. It's a really good moment. I think it's acted very well by Carol Urban.
Yeah, I think it's really nice coming after the meeting where he could have shared this story.
Yeah, but he did it with Huey instead, because he
Yeah.
sees Huey as someone who's suffered a similar thing because of what happened to Robin, and that's what he does. He compares Rebecca to Robin and says, "No, we have to do this for them, and we can't be distracted by other people or other birds," as he puts it, especially not a super. And I think he is someone who has become like. I mean, he is an extremist, but I don't think that's the right word I'm looking for here. He's someone who's become obsessed with the idea of a super, to a fault. But I think he's someone you can very understandably see where he's coming from and why he feels this
Oh
way.
yeah, definitely.
Because who could stop
It's
Homelander? Who could?
it's one of those where he's kind of gone too far to a point where he's wrong to think everyone's like Homelander.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, a lot of them are bad, clearly, but not all of them.
Yeah, this is like any group of people being judged because of the actions of one person. Like that,
Yeah.
it's the idea that you steal my donut and then all of a sudden I think all gingers are donut thieves. Like,
To be fair, we are.
okay, bad example, but like it's very much that, and I think you sympathize with him, you understand his rage, and I think that's what makes this better writing than it otherwise would be, is that I'm seeing his point of view, and while I don't necessarily agree with him, I'm understanding why he feels this way, and I don't hate him for it. Like, I want him to come out, I want him to realize that he's wrong, but I don't hate him for thinking this because of what he's went through. And the idea of Homelander raping someone is vicious as hell. Like no one on the earth could stop him. Like, he can do whatever he wants, and this is like the most personal thing he can do. Because all the things we've been talking about for all episodes, he can tear apart cities, he can kill thousands and millions in the blink of an eye, but we never stopped and thought of what can he do to one person in private.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes me think, maybe not this season in particular, but the series as a whole is just, when does Homelander snap?
We might be getting close to. I mean, I don't know if Homelander's like a major character for the whole story, or if he's like a first chunk
Yeah,
thing.
I'm
or...
not sure, obviously, but it feels like, okay, we know how terrible he is. We've seen he's kind of getting, bored of being with Vought, really. He's disillusioned by the system.
But bored of putting up the pretense.
Yeah. how long till he snap? I feel like it's an inevitability at this point, and it's just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. So no, really well done scenes, and then of course later Huey is back with Annie, and they're at the bar again, and it's a great thing where he sees Robin, but then Robin disappears after they kiss. Him and Annie kiss, and she's like saying, "Oh, everything in New York sucks, but the one thing that I found here that's been good is you." And it's kind of a sweet scene. She's saying, "Oh, we should go to this place in Hawaii that's got pink sand," and like she's really, I think it was Hawaii. I don't know, but
Pink Sand Beach.
it was a pink sand beach.
Yeah, because he asked her what the name was, and she was like, Pink Sand Beach. He was like, yeah, that's real inventive.
Yeah. But he, and he's like, "Oh, are we actually talking about this? Is a thing we're actually going to do?" And then of course Billy shows up, and he's all pleasant to her in front of when she's there. But when she goes off to get something to drink, he then makes it very clear that he's going to tell her about Translucent and reveal.
Joe, I thought was interesting
done.
is I wasn't sure it was necessarily that he was going to tell her, but more it might just come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he seems very because the thing is, he says when, and then Huey notes that and says, "What do you mean, like when?"
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, whether or not he's planning on telling himself, or he just knows it's coming out because it's going to be an offshoot of whatever else he's doing next.
Yeah,
it's coming. Like it's definitely coming.
Yeah, I think it's going to be whatever happens. It's a result of something he does. I just don't know if it's going to be as direct as him just telling her.
Yeah. And we'll jump back over to Annie because Annie has a really interesting couple of scenes early on where she goes to Stilwell, who's just fired the PR girl who we've been seeing get really upset a lot, and she tells
Didn't
Annie.
fire her though. It was a mutual agreement that she wanted to go in a different direction.
She got fired.
She did. She got totally fired.
And Annie's asked to stop playing hardball and do what she's supposed to. And yada yada yada. And she's like, "No, I'm not going to do this. Like, I want to help people. I don't want to do commercials. I don't want to do documentaries and movies and all this other crap. And I'm using my old costume, and I'm done just bending over backwards for you." And she's like, "Well, in that case, you can leave the 7." And she's like, "Well, you're going to fire someone who just reported sexual assault live on TV? Yeah, that doesn't sound good for business." And I mean, I said stop playing hardball earlier. I want to bring that back. Yeah, she plays hardball here. She's like, "No, I'm not going down that easy." And
and she says, "Oh, if people ask me who did it, I'm gonna tell them."
Yeah, and Stilwell's like, "I mean, I have no idea who you're referring to," and Annie's like, "Yeah, you do." Like, and she walks out. I think that's an interesting thing about to this deep stuff where he does have a history of this, and Stilwell knows about it, and he ends up making this crappy apology video that because we see him doing takes of it, and he's like getting directions in between, so it's like the most inauthentic thing you've ever seen. He's acting. This is a performance. He does get called fish stick, though, by some passerbys.
There was a bit where you can see it on the TV that has a headline like questioning, Starlight. So, what was it considered? Regret or whatever the phrase was. It was a specific phrase going, well, did she just change her mind? And that's what this is. That was one of the headlines on the TV.
It was also one of the tweets story. Actually. At the start when they were showing her interview, there was they showed like a Twitter feed, and one of them was regret is not rape, and obviously it's just it was a few shitty comments you recognise from just the world.
Every time this happens,
every time someone accuses someone of something, this is the stuff that kind of gets churned up. And she has a great scene with Maeve after this scene with Stilwell, where Maeve's kind of complaining every time she's on a red carpet doing interviews now. She's asked about Annie. Are you supporting Annie? Like, Annie, you're supposed to be sisters in arms.
And she can't say no.
Yeah, but she's kind of pissed that Annie's getting all the spotlight. And Annie's like, I used to look up to you. I read, your book about you saving kids in a school bus, and you went to all the physical therapy afterwards, and it really inspired me. But I guess that was just written by the marketing people. And she walks out, and it's kind of this... it's the cynical Maeve who's been broken down, doesn't really believe in anything anymore, and Annie who's still trying to believe and fight for what she is and what she believes herself to be. And I mean that leads to Maeve's scene where her girlfriend or ex-girlfriend shows up.
While they're filming her segments.
Yeah, and Melrose from Glow is the director of all this stuff. I recognised her from that, and she's. Directing, and they're in front of a fountain, and she's doing a pose, and she's giving a speech, and it's all the thing. And of course, the big thing plot-wise here is that they actually catch her on film talking about the relationship. So this is about to become public knowledge. There's no way it's not. Um, I will say, for a superhero, I feel like she should maybe notice the giant boom mic that the guy's kind of like, because you actually, because I was questioning,
You
like,
see him creep up with
yeah,
it, don't you?
like you wouldn't be able to hear him from that distance, but you can actually see the boom mic dude just going up and just sort of like over the
Can he
statue or
get
whatever it
just
is.
around the? Cause it's like these letters, I think is what they are.
Yeah, it's
It's
like a
like a big
monument
sign.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, big stone
so sort of,
letters.
big like statue-sized letters, and it's just you can just see the boom stick it out from the edge of one of them. That cracks me up.
Yeah, if Maeve catches you, she's.
It was basically this was like, I want this full episode as the mockumentary that this is.
Mm.
That was the best bits.
Yeah, and later Maeve apologizes to her actually, which I didn't quite necessarily see coming. I think the redemption of Maeve and her fighting back, or at the very least, I see her having a big redemptive moment, possibly against Homelander himself at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure how strong Maeve is. I don't know if she can stand up to Homelander, but I mean,
Well, I don't
every
think she
person
can.
helps.
I don't think she can take him down, but like I feel like she might sacrifice herself to like stop him doing something, something to delay him just enough that whatever he was going to do won't happen.
Yeah, maybe. It's interesting because you feel like, oh, she'll go public with things like the plane or so an incident like that, and just be like, no, I'm not following your line anymore. She's doing the thing that's right.
I can see Maeve dying. I can see Maeve wanting to do something like that, but being taken out by Homelander before she can.
No, but that's the thing. Her doing the thing that's right and just dropping the pretense makes Homelander immediately more dangerous because there's nothing to stop him then.
Which actually I think leads us neatly back in to Billy's plot, because Billy goes to see a CIA lady whose name I cannot remember.
It's his wife's sister.
Raynor. It's not his wife's sister. What are you talking about?
Oh no, sorry. Never mind.
That's a different character.
It is.
We go to see Raynor, and she, it presents her with all the information. I've got a compound V. We've got, evidence that they're doing this and they're making supers and yada yada yada, and gives her a list of demands. Essentially, just this is what we want for turning all this information in and working with us.
An office, salary.
Yes, immunity, and so on and so on. And the one thing that she says she can't give him is Homelander. That we can't try and go after him.
Prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, I think was the phrase.
Yeah, but she's not willing to do that, and he says, what he did. So she knows what he needs revenge for, what he needs justice for, and she says she sympathizes, but ultimately they can't, because it's not. I mean, you're willing to commit suicide, you're willing to be killed by him for doing this, but thousands of people might die because you did this. If he gets upset, it really kind of set into the idea of the fear, because there are people kind of higher up that kind of know what he's like, and they're just so terrified of what he might do if they actually speak out against him, if they try and discipline him, if they try and stop him, that it's just too dangerous. He could do anything he wants, so they have to almost pretend that everything's okay just so that he'll be as calm as possible the entire time.
Pretty much.
So that's a really interesting and terrifying idea, which I thought was really cool. So that was really neat. Obviously, the big plot we've not spoken about so far is Haley Joel Osment as the Mesmerizer, I think was the name. And he was at a TV show as a kid, but basically he can read your thoughts via physical contact. If he shakes your hand, he can read you. And They go to this convention because they want to try and communicate with who we find out is called Kimiko, who previously referred to as the female, or we very briefly referred to her as the honey badger. But Kimiko, they want to communicate with her because she can't speak, obviously, at least not in their language. At least, or if she can, she's not doing it. She's being quiet.
Yeah, she certainly understands their language.
Yeah,
at the very least.
Because I've been kind of expecting that moment where she says something and everyone goes, "Whoa!" I'm kind of waiting for that surprise.
We kind of got that moment where she just shook her head or something. But that was almost that moment. Still, that was the first time she actively communicated.
But they go to see him, and because of MM's connections with social services, he's able to get him a meeting with his daughter, which is what he really wants. And this is kind of the leverage of hey, I'll set this up as a consistent thing if you help us and read this girl. And he's wanted to do it, and he gets his hand broken for his troubles.
Yeah,
for his troubles.
That snap sounded fantastic.
Yeah. Also, I like that people are flirting with him by just saying, "Hey, read my thoughts," and he's like, "Oh, here's my number."
Yeah.
That was amusing too. And I like the neat point as well where he tries to shake Billy's hand and Billy's just like, and walks out. And the same again with Homelander as well, where he's like, "No, I'm not doing that."
It was a nice. I thought it was a nice sort of actually early on in this, when was like, "Go on then, why don't you find out who I am?" And offers him his hand, which I thought it was an interesting twist because usually in this scenario you expect them to be, cagey, going, "Oh, I'm not falling for that."
Hey, it's the quickest way to get all the information to him.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, just here, read the thoughts and have it. And sure enough, he does read her a couple of times. They have to do it a second time, and they get enough that they think she's a terrorist, that she was fighting for this liberation, because they recognize the symbol that he describes in the flashback, as it were.
Yeah.
And they think, wait, is she a terrorist? Holy shit. And then he reads her again, and it becomes clear that her and her brother were actually kidnapped and forced into this organization. And the reason why she wants to leave is she wants to go and save her brother. So
Yeah.
it makes her obviously sympathetic, if she wasn't already. Certainly reestablishes it after you think she's a terrorist for a couple of minutes. And friendship at the end of the episode gives her a choice. He's like, if you want to leave and go after your brother, I'll understand. But if you stay and help us, we can maybe take down the people who are doing this to you. And she holds his hand, which sounds like a yes, or looks like a yes, I should say.
Yeah, it feels like she's staying.
She's a space girl.
Yeah, I think that's the moment.
Yes. But the other big point we have to point out here is that what they were doing with her is that they were intentionally taking someone who's part of this terrorist group, doping them up with superpowers, so that this will be a reason for Congress and the Western world, essentially, to say, no, we need to send in superheroes because they've got superheroes.
It's like, hey, they've got soups, we need soups.
This is the equivalent of they've got nukes, so we have to do things.
Yeah, I never heard that before.
I couldn't do a Bush impression, so I thought.
What about a Blair impression? That might have been easier.
A what impression?
Blair.
I can't do a Blair impression.
Can't do a Blair.
No. I think I'd have an easier time doing a Bush impression, to be honest, than a Blair impression.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I find a proper English accent to be really. I can do like a comical one, but I can't do like a proper one.
Yeah. Speaking of accents, some words. First time I've had a real problem with Carl Urban.
Oh, okay.
The pronunciation of a certain swear word was done in a very American fashion, which I was willing to let slide, but then Huey used the same word later in the English fashion. So I don't. Maybe maybe he's an English actor. I don't know. But
would this begin with a T?
It does indeed.
Okay, right. Means the same thing as the C word, just for anyone keeping track.
Yes, yeah. But it really bothered me that it was the American version, like more than once, and then the English version was there alongside in a scene with him still.
That's why. Do you think New Zealanders don't use that word? Like,
I don't know.
And that's why he's defaulting to the American one, because that's the only one that he's really heard.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
That's interesting.
Our mate lives in New Zealand. I have to hit him up and find out.
Oh, maybe it was a direction. I mean, that's weird if Huey was saying the other one, but like
that's why I was going to let it slide, because I thought, American production, whatever. But then the English version came out, in the middle of the usages from Urban, so it threw me.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. That's a bit weird. So yeah, so we're building some big conspiracy stuff there, which is cool, and it ties her into the plot that we're doing with Stilwell, with them trying to get the supers into the military and so on and so on. So that's all really good. Speaking of Stilwell, she has to go and babysit Homelander again. And if it wasn't erotic enough for you last episode, she caresses his crotch whilst convincing him to do the story that he wants, the mother story about the cake. So that because he gets really upset because they put his real baby blanket in the room, like his fake childhood room, because it's the Kent farm. Like they're trying to sell him as the Superman, right? The Kent farm kind of thing. Yeah. But it's all fake. He's never been here before.
This is all American kind of just. Hey, he went and played Little League baseball and
built model planes with his father, and his mother played piano.
Yeah, and look at the typical white picket fence American house essentially. Yeah. I'm not sure if it actually had a white picket, but the image was there.
Yeah. So no, and he gets really upset, but he does it. But again, you can see him getting tired when he does tell this story. When the yell cut, he's like, "All right, we're done," and his face, the smile just drops, and he's miserable. He's miserable, so
Oh, he is, yeah.
he's getting dangerous. He's getting very dangerous. Should mention there's going to be a Starlight movie, even though Starlight's not agreed to be in anything. So just we'll point that out for one. A couple of little things along the way that are worth mentioning. There is one of the interview segments with A-Train. They bring up Popclaw, and he kind of gets
pretends
emotional.
like he doesn't know. He's like, who's that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're on a show. Well, I've not seen her in years. I don't know.
Yeah, but it ends in kind of an emotional beat. They also show that he's trying to beat his record with his brother, and he's just not doing it. And you get the impression that the last time they took this reading was or tested this, it was when he was on Compound V. So he's just not comparing to himself.
Yeah.
Because he tries over and over and over again, and it just doesn't work. So no.
I think to be fair, it also works as even if he wasn't on V when he took that record, it works. He's Popclaw is affecting him. He's off his game.
Sure. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. There was a Seth Rogen cameo in this as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a producer on the show, though, right? So...
Yeah, he was interviewing with Black Noir, and then Billy Zane was back at the convention scene with everyone. A lot of little things like that. Actually, Joe, I really enjoyed. This was when they were before they got the idea to sort out the communication problems. There's a little speech that Frenchie gives to Mother's Milk, where he's like, I've seen you eat ice cream now. And he's like, what? Like, Rocky Road if I do so myself. And he goes into this thing where he has a little bit of ice cream, but he's upset that once he starts eating it, that it's not a flat surface anymore. So then he has to keep eating it to try and even it out. So he ends up just eating the whole tub. I hate how much I related to this.
Yeah, me too.
Because I like to try and get it flat again.
I always do, yeah. To the point where I'll sit there with the spoon and just kind of,
Scrape.
Run the back of the spoon and cross it. It's not scrape, it's more of a rub.
No, because if I have because obviously you've been scooping out, you'll have like a sort of peak in the middle of the two scoop sections. I'll just sort of scrape that out with the tip of the spoon to try and flatten it.
No, I'll do that as well. I'll get it close with some scraping and then kind of like a circular rub with the spoon, the flat, the back of the spoon to kind of even it out.
Yeah. Mother's Milk was very relatable this episode. He was also on the phone to the missus about her not watching one more episode of a TV show so that he wasn't behind one so they could still binge it together.
Yeah. I think the only unrelatable part of that was I think it was Downton Abbey.
I mean, yeah. I mean, taste aside, that's not...
Yeah. But if you watch it, then I'll be one behind and when am I going to catch up? Been there.
Yeah, a lot of relatable stuff coming from him this episode, which I appreciate. The one other thing we have to mention about Homelander, though, of course, is that Mesmerizer calls him and goes to see him and gives him information about all the people who came to speak to him. Gives him information. He says the French guy, black guy, English guy, and it's like, hey, these are the people. So he has a lot more information at the end of this episode.
Yeah, he's got clear pictures of all of them.
Yeah,
takes his phone.
And he's got X-ray vision and all sorts of shit. He can...
Yeah, and we've seen how quickly they track down Frenchie with one little picture. So, well, not trying to find him, but all his aliases, all the information they could need.
Yeah. So that's neat. I'll tell you what I like about Mesmerizer. I like the idea that when he might see his daughter, which by the way, so when he tries to hand her a VHS of his old TV show, and she's like, "I don't have it."
It was a DVD, to be fair.
Was it a DVD? It looked like a VHS to me.
No, he said DVD, and she said, "I don't have a DVD player."
I don't think he said the DVD.
He did.
I saw the scene twice.
I'm willing to stake. I was sleep deprived when I saw it. I'm still willing to stake reputation on this.
I think he just goes to hand it to her and says, "Here, so you can get to know me better."
No, it was a DVD.
They look at VHS. Because I thought that was the joke, is that she just thought it was a DVD because she's not old enough to know what a VHS is.
No, I think he actually said DVD.
All right,
I'm sure he did.
I'm going to check afterwards, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, admittedly, sleep addled when I watched it, but I'm sure he did. And I thought that's why I was funny. It's like, no, you're that old. She doesn't even have a DVD player anymore. That was meant to be old to us. Like, the kids don't even have those now.
It's all streaming now for the kiddies.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting because there's so many obscure things that aren't on any of the streaming services that you never get unless you go out your way to get them.
Yeah.
That's the sad truth, is that so much gets left behind. So never let another media die to a point just because I think it's important. But anyway, yes, as you can see clearly behind me. So, um, no, but no, what I liked about him and his daughter is that he hugs her and stuff, and he reads her, and he knows that she's willing to do this out of kind of politeness, that she's supposed to kind of give him a chance, but she doesn't really care about seeing him or want to see him, and
Yeah, because there's a bit. He's like, "Oh, do you hate me?" And she's like, "I even know you."
yeah, because he says this in the phone where he says this, "Hey, you don't have to set up these meetings. It's okay. She doesn't really want him to see me anyway. Just make sure she's got a happy life, kind of thing." And it's kind of heartbreaking. So you kind of like him at the most you do at the whole episode at that point when he's made that phone call
Right before he betrays them all.
right before he betrays them all. And you almost get the sense that because he wants to. He's like, "Oh, I work with A-Train," and he tries to shake his hand, and you almost get the sense that he's almost hoping that by doing this he'll become important again. That he wants to be a hero again.
Oh, he's trying. He's like, "Hey, in exchange for this, can you give me a job of nothing too high up? Oh, no, don't be ridiculous. Just a cushy 5 figures."
But I think it's a really sad kind of story of like how he's become dependent on this life. It reminded me of like he literally actually did act in something, so it's a kind of a weird comparison. But it does remind me of an aging actor who's like long out of their prime and no one wants to use them anymore, and he's just kind of like he's just begging for relevancy again.
No, I think that's why it works here. It's the kid actor because he was the kid actor with superpowers, but it doubles here.
Is it funnier that it's Haley Joel Osment who kind
Yeah.
of hasn't been around acting wise as an adult?
I think it's an intentional casting choice because of that.
Yeah, I can see it. Hey, it was good in Sixth Sense.
I don't think there's anyone who really disliked him.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He was in a few things around that time, and then he just kind of disappeared, I believe. Yeah. But hey, so that's episode 6 of The Boys. And sorry this one took an extra day than it should have. Connor was sick, and is still miserable, for the record. I mean, he's always miserable, but, physically
Extra
miserable
right now with bloody toothache.
To the point where I almost did this one on my own, just to get it out on a reasonable time frame, and he could catch up with the next one. But here you go. This is episode 6. We'll be back with episode 7 as soon as we can. We're kind of prioritizing it a little bit, and you can look forward to that. But you can let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe and all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. It is very important, of course, if you want to rate and review the podcast, the audio version on your podcast app, Apple Podcasts or whatever. Some of the reviews that are already on there are actually pretty funny. So you could go do that. The ones that dislike Connor especially usually give me a chuckle. But
I bet they do.
You could go do that. You could, of course, support us financially over at patreon.com/mailfuzztv. And this is perhaps one of the most important things you can do. If you support us over there for as little as $1 per month, you get access to a bunch of bonus stuff, extras, and early stuff, and so on and so on. And it helps us keep the shows coming and maintains everything going, forever, potentially. Well, until we're all dead, I suppose, at the very least. I mean, that has been The Boys episode 6. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?